So hello, my cubs and my pride and joy. Today we have Lisa Morgan with us on Roaring Like Lions Live, and I thank you for being here. Thank you, Lisa, for showing up today. Lisa has, I'm going to read what she says. She's a board-certified music therapist and certified professional coach with PhD in life. She's navigated 20 years of the dark night of the soul. I love that title. Going from 48 years of extreme enthusiasm, passion, joy, and success into a world of despair, despondency, depression, and dysfunction. It was through body, voice, energy therapies and healers that she was able to access the history of her past, getting to the root cause and exposing the truth that set her free. And she has 12 pillars of healing from extreme childhood abuse, trauma, and terror, which I think is just amazing. And one of the things you talk about is that trauma is an electrical disturbance. And I'd like to touch more on that, but let's get talking a little bit about these 12 pillars that you have. Let's talk about number 2. And I'll put these all on the description for people to see. So number 2, you have your body is your biography. It knows everything. It's the master command center. So can you explain that a little more?
So my healing journey started really in the early 2000s. I was 52 years old. I didn't know anything about my past. And I was really curious about certain things that were sort of like living inside of me and that I was always aware of from my childhood. You're going to love this, that I always knew that I played with my dolls, first talking, then whispering, and then in silence. And I wondered, why was I not talking? And then there was another thing about my voice that was always living inside of me, which was, as a high school student cruising around with friends in their cars and stuff, they'd be singing out loud, harmonizing in the front seat. And I'd be in the back seat with my jaw clenched tight, and I could not open my mouth and I could not join in the fun. And there was this deep, deep grief inside of me, which was like, why can't I just open my mouth and sing? But it was just clenched tight. So I've always known I had these issues about my voice. And then I attended, and I was a music therapist in the early 80s and 90s, working out of psychiatry and chemical dependency, and, focused on stress management, healing, wellness, resilience, all those different kinds of things, and really being divinely guided from my inside. There was no cookbook, textbook about what a music therapist does in psychiatry at the time. And I was just creating it based on what I thought people needed. Well, what I now know is it was what I needed, but it was what they needed too. So anyway, I attended this other workshop in 1996. John May, who was a psychologist, the May family, which is one of the Schiller, I don't know, it was one of the department store families. Anyway, it was called Finding Your Voice. And because of my history with my voice, I was very attracted to attend that workshop. And he did the morning session. We did all these crazy things with our body. I mean, he had us moving, doing all these things, and he had us put us in stress positions. And one of them was to stand against the wall and then slide your back down so that you're kind of in a chair thing, and just sit there and try to get your legs to vibrate. And the whole time you're doing that, you're also making sound. You're going, ah, and then your body starts vibrating, And then we did these other crazy things. And then and then he had us in 2 circles with partners. And he said, you're looking at your partner, inner circle, outer circle, we're face to face. And he says, talk in gibberish. So I'm going, blah, 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 and the person responds, blah, and I go, blah, 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 and I'm having fun. And then he says, switch, and you go to the next person. He says, talk in Donald Duck talk, and then switch, talk in Valley Girl talk, and then switch, talk in Chinese accent, and then switch. And then you get back to your original partner. And he said, talk in your own voice. And I opened my mouth and nothing would come out. I could not make a sound. I was absolutely astonished. And I was like, I'm thinking, what the heck is going on? I mean, I could not verbalize anything. And I'd just been extremely playful. It was like, what is this? Then in the afternoon after lunch, he had a mattress on the floor, and he had everybody on the sides, and they were kneeling. And the person would lay on the mattress, on their back. He was at the head, and it was like he was cradling their head. And when it came my turn to go, I was laying on the mattress. And as soon as I laid down, he put his gentle hands under my head. I started sobbing. And it just started sobbing. And I just said, I wish I could sing. I wish I could sing. And he said, if you could sing, what would you sing? And I couldn't think of anything but one song. And you got to understand, I'm a music therapist. I've typed up hundreds of songs. I've looked for lyric analysis songs. I sing alongs. I'm all about song. I could only think of one song. My mind just went blank, except for God Bless the Child. And God Bless the Child by Billie Holiday has a refrain that says, Mama may have, Papa may have, but God bless the child who has his own, who has his own. And for years, that has haunted me. Has his own what? Has his own what? Self, life, joy, voice, whatever. So I had all these voice issues, and I set an intention at that day, which was someday I'm going to work with somebody that does this kind of work. And that is one of my first pillars, is like waking up to consciousness inside of yourself, becoming aware, and I was becoming aware that things were living inside of me that I didn't understand. And someday I wanted to figure out what the heck that was all about. And I have to read this quote to you because this was on the flyer for the workshop. You're going to love this, LS, you're going to love it. He says, your voice is a source of strength, a way of asserting your aliveness and your right to be that which you are. Even more deeply, your voice is you, your idiom, a unique expression of who and what you are in the world. Many of us are taught not to have our voice. There are many reasons, and some are very compelling, but it has tremendous cost. We become wolves without a howl, lions without a roar, and songbirds without a song, vulnerable to depression and impotent rage. So
beautiful.
In 1996, I walked away from my second hospital, downsizing, very toxic, poisonous. It was just like robbing me of my joy, making me sick on the inside, and said, nothing is worth this. And I left the hospitals and I said, I will never be an employee again. And after I left the hospital, I attended a workshop with the art therapist that I worked with, that was Bernie Siegel. And the Bernie Siegel workshop, we had to do a self-portrait, which I would love to share because there's a lot about your body as your biography in that self-portrait.
Yeah,
But
I'd like to see that.
Yeah. Well, let's just do that right now, because Bernie Siegel is an oncologist, loved medicine and miracles, and he was working with, patients, and he was dying inside because they were just body parts, and that was medicine was teaching him, and he was losing his humanity. And finally, that he started running little groups with his patients, and he says that his patients taught him how to get his heart back and get his life back, by relating to them as real people. And then he developed his own whole facility of healing. He used all the expressive therapies, music, art, dance, poetry, drama, everything. Everything is a holistic approach to healing. And he uses art therapy all the time. So he had us draw a self-portrait. And this is what I drew. Now, let me tell you what I remember drawing. And I was with the art therapist. I remember distinctly that my head was big and my shoulders were broad. And when I tried to get my body into the page, I ran out of room. So I kind of made my legs go sideways. And then I kind of drew a chair on the back to make it look like I was sitting on a chair. And that's all I remember about that picture, that my head was large, my shoulders were really broad. I ran out of room. I couldn't get my legs on the page, but I squeezed them on the page. I didn't find that picture until I'd already finally started doing my inner healing work and working with, bioenergetics therapy was the first form of therapy. And I found this in like 2000, and I was 2000, I don't know, 8, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever. And this is the self-portrait. And I don't know if you can see it without it being glary, but what you see, the head here, and then the broad shoulders, And then when you go down, the legs, it looks like a chair, and I have my legs going off to the side because I had to squeeze them on to get them on. But what's really critical is I had no idea. I showed this to somebody and they said, "What's that fine line?" And I went, "What?" And all of a sudden I looked at this fine line. And then it made me look at my face. I never really looked at the face that I drew. And can you see this side has a pupil with a smile going up?
Right.
And this side is a hollow with tears coming down and the smile going down. So basically what this is a picture of is dissociation and soul fracturing in one piece that I did not draw because I didn't even know it. I did not even know I drew it. It was my soul parts that were drawing it. And basically what I now know from my history is that I have complete amnesia. And if you go online to try to find, anything about amnesia, you really don't find anything. You'll find repressed memories, people that don't know anything about their past, and then they start to get inklings and things start coming up, and maybe dreams or flashbacks, and they start to have the memories. I've never had a visual memory. I only could find out about my truth of my past from breaking through energy blocks that were in my body and that released this energy. And then in the soundproof room of the bioenergetic therapist where I was working with the therapist, and that therapist, Andrew Lowen Bioenergetics, is all about your body is your biography, that everything you've ever heard, seen, thought, felt, experienced is in a file in your subconscious. And another thing, they say that your body is your subconscious. It's an expression of your subconscious. And Bruce Lipton says, we're 5% consciousness and 95% at the unconscious or subconscious level. So I say, who's really in charge here? Are we, or is it the subconscious that's really in control of our life? But this is a picture of dissociation is when the child goes up into the head from fear, panic, trauma, whatever, and is living from their head, trying to survive, using their wits to, try to protect them and do whatever. So we get dissociated from our body. We're living in our heads. And the real journey in healing is the 19 inches from your head back to your heart, back into your body, into the wisdom of the body. And the body knows everything. And now because of energy psychology and energy medicine and energy techniques and that quantum physics, everything is energy, we know that there are definite ways to heal. Trapped, and trauma is trapped trauma energy that's stuck in the body that never got allowed to be released and resolved. And I'll give you a really great example of that. So just to finish this, so this is dissociation. The head is dissociated from the body. We're living in our head for survival. Where you see black is all the trauma that was in my body. And there are little black circles around my ears. There's black in the tears, and there's, and so the circles is that my hearing, we become vigilant, hyper vigilant to survive. And my hearing was my superpower. It alerted me to, the abuse that my father was going to come into my room at night and do things to me. That was one thing, but I'm asleep, but your hearing never goes to sleep, and your soul inside hears. And so my soul parts are screaming the angels to come get me. So my hearing is a superpower, number one, for that, but then also music. I was a music therapist, and I used to say, I hate my voice and I'm a closet pianist. Why in the heck would I have ever chosen to be a music therapist? It just didn't make sense. And I had a real love-hate relationship with being a music therapist, but music was always my source. It was my source for energy, for vitality, for soothing and calming. The piano, I played the piano and I banged on that piano, it was a release. It was my voice. It really was. Music was my form of expression and voice. So this line down the middle here is really soul fracturing, because what I showed the world for 47, 48 years was extreme passion, joy, enthusiasm, vitality, success, entrepreneur, leader, pioneer, creator, music therapy from the ground up, creating a whole hospital-wide program. So that's what I showed for 45 years. And then when I started to break into through this soundproof room and getting a full body vibration through those crazy stress positions I told you about in that workshop, trying to get your body to vibrate. And when I had the success of that happening, it's like my mouth dropped open and just these blood curdling screams came out of me. And they went on and on and on and on and on. And I finally dropped down to all fours. And I was like, when I stopped, I just let my body do its thing. I wasn't afraid of it. That's the biggest lesson I want people to know, is that whatever you've been through, whether you know it or not, and whether you're feeling inclined to seek out help, to get a therapy, you know you've got some trauma or whatever, don't be afraid of whatever it is that's in there that you don't know, because it's you. It's all part of you, you know, and we have to release what's living inside of us. It has to come up to the light to be healed. And so when I stopped screaming in that first release, I finally looked up at my therapist, and her eyes were as big as saucers. And I didn't ask her then. It was probably about 2 years before I said, why were your eyes like as big as saucers? And she said, you know, I knew that she wasn't afraid of me screaming. She said, I wasn't afraid of your screaming, but I was astounded at how long it lasted. Oh. Astounded. Yeah. And the image I want to give people is that when you talk about depression, and so many people are dealing with it, and there's a saying, depression is anger turned inward. And I used to, as a music therapist in the hospitals, I was like, why would anybody turn your anger against yourself? It just didn't make sense to me until I went through my own process, you know. And what I understood then was that screaming and that rage, that for 5 years in this soundproof room, every session, once a week, my body screamed and raged, and these voices came out and the parts came out and they reenacted things that had happened to me. But the rage is so deeply embedded. And most people say, oh, I don't get angry. But I'm depressed. There is trapped rage inside. And that is the healing journey, is having a therapist that knows how to do rage work. And it's kind of like, you know, one of the ways that they can do it, if you don't do this energy work that I did, is that the two chairs, and you're acting out, you know, the therapist plays a part, and then you're letting that. And if you get deeply into that process, you can tap into that inner child, that inner part, that inner age at which you experience something, and release it and get it up and out of your system. So
you bring up a really good point. Finding the right therapist. How do you find the right therapist for what's going on in you, especially if you've been hiding it all the time?
Yeah. You know, there are two sayings about being a therapist. One is that a therapist has to do their own work. And, you know, talk therapy can only take you so far. You cannot heal yourself by talking yourself into wellness. You know, one of my other healing pillars is about compassion. It's the journey from the head to the heart. It's the getting in touch with those inner child parts. There's a lot about inner child healing and inner child work and journaling, you know, with your inner child and all that kind of stuff. That is getting in touch with your unconscious, and that is getting in touch with those parts. So a therapist has to have done their own work, and do not be afraid to ask. Have you done work? What kind of therapy have you done? You know, what are your credentials? You know, you really have to be your own advocate. That's number one. And number two, a therapist can only take you as far as they've gone in their own healing journey. And I say I've gone to hell and back 1,000,000 times, you know, and I'm 20 years in the dark night of the soul, is basically getting to the other side. I have uncovered everything that happened inside of me. And because I was a music therapist, I worked in psychiatry, I had a consciousness about my whole journey. It was like I was studying it and analyzing it and tuning into what the process that I'm going through and how do I get there. And, you know, so there's a definite consciousness that it brings. And somebody that is going to really, if you have a really extreme history and you know you've got a lot of trauma and abuse and sexual abuse and all kinds of things in your past, you want a pretty seasoned therapist. definitely a trauma-informed therapist. And I would say definitely somebody that is informed, that has energy healing technologies at the, that they, EMDR, I spent another 5 years doing EMDR, hypnosis. I worked with shamans. I worked with psychic healers. There are a lot of different methodologies. If anybody wants to have a conversation with me and ask, just feel free to call. I would be delighted to listen to you and, give you any guidance I can. But yeah.
So there's two things that you mentioned in your 12 pillars, number 8 and number 9. Number 8 is self-love, and number 9 is compassion and hope. And I think those are really important, because a lot of people who are depressed or have gone through trauma do not have self-love. So do you have kind of a quick tip or something for someone to love themselves?
We all say we are our own worst enemy. We are so critical and judgmental and all that. It's just, it's how we're raised, and it just is in all of us. There isn't anybody that doesn't have that. And self-love is a journey itself. And it's a process of waking up to it. And they're acts of self-love. Anything that you do, like I never used to get my fingernails. I never got my fingernails painted. I never did anything for myself. I never had lunch with girlfriends or anything when I worked full time. When I finally gave myself permission to do those things, those are acts of self-care, self-love, self-soothing. So, creating a joy list, and what are the things that would make you happy, that you would have fun doing? Write up a list, and then, once or twice a week, go do something, get a massage, take a bubble bath, hang out with a girlfriend, do things with people so you're not so alone, and, find a buddy to exercise with. I mean, loneliness and aloneness are things that perpetuate depression and, feeling isolated. So those are just some ideas to try to, but compassion is the healing balm. It is, people talk a lot about forgiveness. And, if you know that you've had a perpetrator that has done extremely egregious acts, a lot of people are like, they just want revenge. There's no way in hell they can ever imagine healing or, forgiving that person. And they say it's a really powerful thing you do for yourself. Well, I was able to not only forgive my father through one of my Sister Cecile inner healing retreats. And she would have you go eventually pick these pictures out, and when you're in this deep sort of meditative space. And then she had all these pictures from magazines and from calendars. Go over and let your soul pick a picture. Pick the pictures that they're drawn to pick. Your soul's drawn to pick. And in this one retreat, there were 4 pictures I was drawn to. One of them was a picture of a little boy sound asleep with his head on the table. And he's surrounded by all these little metal toys, the cannon and the soldiers. And I'm like, why? I'm a girl. Why do you want that picture? And I'm fighting with myself, like, okay, I'll pick it up. I don't understand, but you want me to pick that picture up? I pick up the picture. That retreat, I don't know what it was called, but my retreat was called Healing the Father Wound, because that picture became a metaphor for my father as a young child. How precious and innocent he was, playing with his toys and falling asleep. And my heart just opened, and I felt the compassion for who he was. And I know my father's history. I mean, he was a child of the Depression. His father died when he was 23 years old, drowning. He had to take over his mother's life, and she was the abuser for him. And basically, he lost his heart when he lost his father, and he had to become this raging, roaring type of person to survive. And for him, at one point I interviewed him, and he said everything he did because of fear. All the choices he made, he chose out of fear. And I say, every choice I've made, I've always made out of love. I am my child's heart. It's who I was. And I always knew as a young person, it's like, that's who I was. It's a very visceral experience of my heart so full as a young child. And it's always been in me. And that's been, I say, the God DNA for survival. There's certain traits that are imbued in us, the gifts that he gives each one of us. They're unique and different to each person, but I always knew my child's heart. And that has been, and when I broke into, the soul contract, that I came down and I had a contract with God to heal the generational abuse. And, this father healing was all about, he was an innocent child that had things perpetrated upon him. And then shit happens and you survive. And you can survive going the route of fear. You can survive going the route of love. And he went the route of fear. And that was a huge healing. And that healing is a body thing. It's not up here. It's the compassion, the head to the heart. It's the embodiment of you're merging with yourself at those younger ages and stages and parts, and you feel that compassion. And it's a powerful, powerful healing.
Yeah, that's very powerful. And we're already running out of time. I want people to know how to get a hold of you, Lisa. So it's LisaMorgan, STL@gmail.com, or you can call her at 314-265-3491. You do have some offer for people. You have a masterclass for mental health professionals covering the 12 pillars. You also have one-on-one mentoring coaching for providers who want to understand complex developmental childhood trauma and abuse. And you say you have a white page on your top 10 hacks for interrupting depression. Tell us a little bit about that white page and where to find it.
I'm a 70-year-old woman coming out of retirement, so I don't have all the bells and whistles and technology set up yet. It is a goal, and you gave me a suggestion of somebody that can help me with that. But, I do want to start a Facebook group, a women's community, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm actually changing my name to Lisa Lovelight. So if you want to find me on LinkedIn, it's Lisa Lovelight. And
Light.
Lovelight, Love Light, all one word, Lisa Lovelight. And it's Chronicles of an Amnesiac, healing from through the dark night of the soul. So I am there, but I'm still in the process of doing all of that. And
good. So when we get done here, I'll show you how to set up the group. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just
again,
give me a call.
It's LisaMorgan, STL@gmail.com and 314-265-3491. And thank you, my Cubs and my pride and joy, pride for Pride of Lions. Thank you for being here. I know this was kind of a tough session, but I really appreciate all that Lisa has said. And, it never hurts to go out and find some help. Love yourself, love yourself, love yourself. You are amazing. You have value. You are worthwhile. You are enough. So keep telling yourself that you love yourself. And we'll see you
and
next
hopefully
time.
I'm a story for transformation and hope for healing. So if
I
can heal, it's possible.
It is.
Thank you so much, LS. I really appreciate this.